Hey guys, welcome to part 2 of our sailing trip to New Zealand, my home. I'm doing this trip with 4 of my childhood friends, Chris, Tony, Elliot and Wally. We had a super eventful sailhead in Minerva reef, with everyone getting a little shock from being out at sea and so remote. We had sailed to the other side of the atoll to hunt for lobsters, but on the way back, all of a sudden, my port engine started revving at full RPM and it wouldn't come out of gear. It also wouldn't shut down, so I had to jump down into the engine room while it was at maximum RPM and squeeze the air intake in order to shut it down.
The engine felt like it was stuck in gear and revving flat out. So we killed it, anchored, and then now when we started it, it just went to full RPM, even though the throttle is all the way back. So it's got something to do with the fuel rack. It's almost like it's broken and it's stuck full RPM.
This was obviously far from ideal, as we still had another 800 miles to get to New Zealand.
Hold on, baby, just hold on. I'll be coming home.
So we traded Lyndon McFly in for this little bird. Another boat told us that the bird just flies around and it comes on and you feed it. And yeah, so now it's just turned up out of the blue.
So I just spoke with Yanmar, New Zealand, who I happened to meet in the Tongan Sailing Festival. So pretty glad that we went to that. We got a bunch of contacts out of it. And there's something broken inside the governor, which governs how much fuel goes into the engine. And it's obviously stuck on full. But you know what? I am actually pretty damn happy that this happened here where there's so much wide open space. Imagine if that happened coming into the marina at OUTRUN or something and I just end up taking out 20 boats or something. Absolute worst nightmare. So I'm taking this one as a little blessing. But luckily, because we're a catamaran, we have 2 engines and the other engine seems to be working absolutely fine. The only bad thing is that the one that we've lost is the engine that gives us hot water and the engine that the big alternator is on. So that's not very good. So for hot water, we'll have to run the water heater, which uses a lot of electricity, or have cold showers, but it's starting to get pretty damn cold. So not ideal, but not the end of the world. Don't worry guys, we will still get to New Zealand.
Kia ora to the Parlay whānau from Minerva Reef, a place that I've never heard of or ever dreamt of coming until a couple of weeks ago, and thanks to Parlay, here we are now.
It's pretty surreal just being in the middle of the Pacific Ocean.
There's still 700, call it 800 miles to go from here in a straight line. So it's a long passage. It's a really long passage, and you know, it makes a huge difference whether we leave on a Saturday or a Sunday, because at the other end the wind could be coming against you, which it exactly is doing. When we go back to predict wind, right at the end here the wind comes straight back at us there. So yeah, so much to consider, but I feel like I've just got this this weather routing tool is just, it's a game changer. It really is. I would highly recommend anyone that's doing a long passage to just, you know, pay a bit of money and get this, even if it's just for that passage, because it is priceless. And get Starlink, because I can just check weather all day and not care about how many megabytes I'm using. Anyway, let's make a plan again tomorrow, but at the moment I'm thinking we'll stay here for another day, which means more lobsters, more wing foiling, a bit more work, you name it. Every cloud has a silver lining, so we took the opportunity to practice our new hobby, wing foiling. If you've never tried it before, it's pretty much impossible to go upwind when you're just starting out, so we had to continuously get rescued in the dinghy as you end up hundreds of meters downwind. Now I was able to finally go upwind, so I was absolutely loving it. The rest of the crew were also having a blast being anchored in one of the most amazing places any of us had ever seen. I can't really put into words how lucky I've felt to be doing this trip with these people, and we were all literally on cloud 9. King o te rangi
50-50
Oh, that water's beautiful. Is it? Yeah.
To be asked, to come on this trip means so much to me. As of late, I've struggled with addiction, and I've had a rough few years, and just to be on here and doing something that I love, and to do it with a good friend of mine is just it's pretty special. So happy, to be away doing something that I thought I'd lost, and just finding myself again and being able to come here and do this just shows me that I'm doing what's right, and my journey in recovery has got me to a place where I can start doing this again and be trusted, and I'm just so privileged to be on here.
So this is Pangaea. We met him in Nuku'alofa. He's solo sailing to New Zealand from Tonga, but he's turned around and come back, and we've just heard that he had hatch problems. So I hope it's not his escape hatch, because if once those start to go, it's bad news. So he's running around on his own. I don't know. You're brave doing that trip alone.
Yeah, one of my emergency hatches, the Lexan, started popping out, so it started taking on water.
So we just come over to Brad's boat with some 5200 to put his escape hatch back in, but have a look.
The situation with Brad was pretty serious, as his hatch had failed and was letting in a scary amount of water into his hull. We lent him some 5200 to glue his hatch back in. Then he ended up actually drilling straight through his hull either side of the hatch and bolting some beams across the outside of the hatch to stop it from falling out. I think this was the right move, as you don't want to take any unnecessary risks on the leg down to New Zealand, especially as a solo sailor. The next morning, we woke up to a pretty horrible weather forecast, so our time in Minerva came to an abrupt end, and it was time to go.
Magical Minerva Reef, it's been beautiful, lots of exploration and swimming.
I love how these guys are all taking the piss out of each other all day long, and then as soon as the camera comes out, it's like, oh yes, I had a lovely time in Minerva Reef.
Behind the scenes.
It's non-stop. We've got to get them used to the camera. Okay, the weather's always changing. So what the latest is a cyclone has developed above us near Fiji. As we scrub through the dates here, look at that thing. Coming down past Fiji. It's coming it's changed even more. It's coming even south of Minerva. It was coming straight over here, but it's coming closer to New Zealand now. So there's absolutely no question about us having to leave right now. So not only do we have to battle the weather that we have here, we've got to outrun a cyclone, which, it could change its course and come due south, which would, put even more pressure on us. So I do think we made the right decision, because the last couple of days out there have been pretty treacherous, and even looking out over the reef now, it's 3 meter swell, and I turned on the navigation this morning, we had 25 knots. So we're going to have all our reefs in, and the first 24 to 48 hours are going to be really tough. Before we go, we're going to have a quick crew photo, so we're going to see some smiling faces now. We'll see if we're all smiling when we get to the other end. 25 knots! She's blowing. That's what we're going out into.
Despite our smiles, there was a sense of urgency about us leaving, as the path that a cyclone chooses to take is fairly unpredictable. The good thing about Brad turning around and repairing his hatch in Minerva Reef was that we were now able to be buddy boats and keep an eye out for each other. which is far better than heading out into the Pacific on your own.
Okay, so we just left Minerva Reef. We're on the way to New Zealand, and I hit my 5,000 nautical miles! All on Parlay! Woo!
Just now.
Yeah, well, when we got to Minerva, but I needed a more exciting atmosphere.
We knew that we were about to sail out into some pretty gnarly weather. There were big seas forecasted and a pretty relentless wind on our beam for the next wee while, so we were a little nervous about what was ahead.
This is the pass coming through now. Pretty much out. See all the currents. Holiday over. That's it. Now the work begins. Trying to see the swell wrap around now. It's meant to be 3 meters out here, 10 feet.
Hey guys, so we are on our way to New Zealand. It's happening. This is a very big moment for Parlay. As you know, it's been a long time coming. We're running about 4 years late, but better late than never. I know what this means to Colin. We've had a lot of ups and downs in the past, but I've seen him go down. I've seen him come back bigger and stronger to get Parlay home.
Look at this Jesus!
This is pretty wild. It's super comfortable, like I'm feeling fine, but there's definitely that 3 meter swell hitting us straight on the side and the boat's going like that. Yep. What it's all about. Oh!
What do you got there?
The biggest bird's nest. So it's too rough at the moment for us to use the fishing rods. And I don't know how I did it, but I threw this hand line, threw it out, and it just went into a big knot. So now it's going to take me a while, I think, to get it undone.
Oh my goodness. That was massive. Did you get that up there?
Yeah, I'm saturated.
I almost got thrown off the toilet.
6 boys on the boat, like
You
the
want
food,
cheese?
we're just smashing through the food, but we knew that it was going to happen, but we're just all making jokes about it now, about it's the feeding time at the zoo now with the boys.
Looking delicious, eating like kings on Parlay.
Have the hand lights out today because it's so rough and it's blowing like 25, 30 knots. And if we catch a big fish on one of the rods, we can't wind it in because we can't slow down at all. We don't want to go upwind because then everything will be flogging and we'll be smashing into like 3 meter waves. So we just put tiny lures on hand lines with really strong line. It's still quite hard to wind it in on the hand lines, even though it's about 200-pound line.
It's gotten kind of bumpier and lumpier out here. Still these 3 meter waves hitting us, but now there's a weird one coming from the front that's just slamming the bridge. But yeah, Tangier is slightly faster than us, so he's slowly overtaking us. Yeah. We passed Minerva South Reef. So if you're sailing to New Zealand or from New Zealand, I highly recommend going to Minerva Reef, but we've only been to the north one. And that's because the southern one is quite a bit more submerged, so the swell seems to get over that reef a lot more. So almost everyone goes to the north one. But if it's nice and calm, apparently the south one is absolutely spectacular, but obviously not the right conditions for us to go there.
All right, we woke up to a beautiful day. The conditions out here have improved drastically. The wind's now sitting at about 15 to 17 knots. And the sea state's calmed down a lot too. And the sun's come out. I can't believe we're already halfway there to New Zealand. It's been such an incredible trip so far. And I don't think Colin could have picked a better crew to do it with. I think it's really heartwarming and sweet that he's asked his childhood friends to bring it home with them. So to be a part of that means a lot to me. And I know it means a lot to him.
So one of the lifelines come unscrewed last night. So the connection that it connects to the rail is gone. So I think we're going to have to take maybe one of these bottom lifelines off the back step screw it in and put it back out. We tried to get these parts in Mexico, but they didn't have them. We haven't been able to find them, so we'll have to wait till New Zealand. We need to fix a couple of them.
Day 2 of outrunning the cyclone. In these areas, a cyclone is defined as a storm that has an average of 34 knots in a circular motion, and that is about to happen. So we're going to continue punching down. We're traveling southwest. It's 43 knots, that cyclone, and that hasn't really built up its momentum yet at that point. So it's going to continue come down. It's going to strengthen, go south of Minerva. We're running, heading straight for New Zealand, trying to keep our speed up right now. We got full sail up. We're doing about 6.5, 7 knots, and yeah, it's going to be over to the east of us. I've got several people messaging me right now saying, get the hell out of there. We're trying, we're doing our best, we're going as fast as we can. It's definitely no joke. And then we still have that front coming up from the south of New Zealand. So we want to get to Opua before that hits.
Oh, it's a dream.
A dream,
Yeah.
honestly.
Be able to go to bed and not, you know, look, it feels like you're like hitting the ceiling. It's good.
So what's it been like crewing with 6 guys on board?
We're starving.
It smells like cologne everywhere you walk, like a boys' locker
We're
room.
feeding a zoo every day, twice a day.
We've run out of fresh food. No, but everyone's super lovely, and I'm glad Colin has friends like you guys. So thanks for coming on this trip.
It's really been an awesome start to the passage, and New Zealand, here we come!
Yeah.
Something that I've sort of been thinking a lot about has been my personal journey. I just have so much confidence now in Colin as captain and in Parlay and the crew that we have on board. So we'll get there safely.
What are you doing?
Just on watch, you know, taking the opportunity to work on some Bansuri flute. Cuz told me to learn the Titanic theme song, which he just picked up and knew how to play without ever playing a flute in his life. He's a very talented man with music as well, so yeah, just passing the time. Okay, so confession time. Well, this trip's definitely a test for me to see how I would go sailing. It's the first time I've ever been on a boat. So when we came out and went past the reef and saw these waves coming at us for the first time, and I was pretty freaked out, but there was spray coming off the hull from the waves breaking, and it was just kind of exciting and exhilarating. And since then, for the last few days out of the reef, I've been feeling fine, no sickness at all, and getting used to sleeping in the cabins with the constant crashing and sound of water rushing as you're sleeping. Still get woken up in the night if there's a really big bang, but now I'm feeling much more confident, and it's kind of inspiring me to potentially look at thinking about doing more crewing and sailing in the future.
Morning guys, it's an absolutely beautiful morning, but not much wind, so we've dropped all the sails. I'm gonna just try put the spinnaker up. Just want to be doing about 4 knots. That's 100 mile a day. So hopefully we're going faster than we would be motoring, and then I can save all that fuel. Plus remember, we've only got 1 engine, so we want to look after that thing.
Oh yeah, baby.
One thing apart from their amazing company, not having the dogs, is the food scraps on the ground. Because Lindo follows everyone around as they eat and just eats anything that anyone drops. Now when we're dropping food, no one there to clean it up. But I miss them so much. They'd normally just be lying here right now, fast asleep. Yeah, it sucks.
What have you been waiting for?
Hard to port.
This is all pretty strange for me, talking to a camera by myself. I've never done anything like this before, so the journey itself has been rough and calm. I'd also like to just say thanks to Colin as well. Without him and his adventurous spirit, I wouldn't get to experience this either. So we haven't seen each other for a little while, so this has been really nice to reconnect, but it's also like we were 10 years ago as well, so we just pick off from where we left off every time we see each other.
Okay, Quith, that's the one.
Lost all of our wind. We knew it was going to happen pretty much right as we thought it was going to happen. So, time to motor. We could be motoring for a day and a half.
There's nothing concerning on the horizon, which is nice. It's sort of, the hard part feels like it's out of the way, and we can just ease into enjoying the rest of the trip. It's been a lot of downtime, which I sort of didn't really think about that much. Yeah, it's been great. The Parlay crew, the full-time crew, they know what they're doing, and at no point I think has anyone felt unsafe. So we've certainly been in good hands.
In the middle of the South Pacific, and the guys want to go for a swim.
So we stopped and played in the middle of the South Pacific as though we were anchored. The seas out here can be so treacherous, but today it was as though we were anchored in the middle of a lake. We had successfully outrun the cyclone, and it was as though we subconsciously didn't want our time at sea to come to an end, so we were in no rush to turn on the motors. Once we were back in New Zealand, everyone would have to rush off to their normal lives. The feeling of being so free and so remote would disappear, and this would all become a distant memory sooner or later. So we were making sure that we lived this moment to the fullest.
That was wild. You're so focused on getting up and everything, and then you think about where you are and what you're doing, it's like, holy crap. Middle of nowhere. So fun. We've never done it out in the ocean before, it's in little bays, and it's like, I don't know, it's extreme. Loved it.
Give me the beat-boys and free my soul. I wanna get lost in your rock and roll and drift away.
I really do hope you enjoyed this episode, guys, and make sure you subscribe and join us next Sunday as we finally bring Parlay home into New Zealand waters, which is something I'll never ever forget.
Give me the beat-boys and free my soul. I wanna get lost in your rock and roll and drift away.